Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to the Audio Analyst. With the 2023 edition of AXPONA in the books, and the biggest and most well-attended AXPONA ever, today I will bring you a conversation with Angus Leung, the founder and designer of WestminsterLab Electronics and Cables. Now, subscribers may recall that in episode 98, my top 5 rooms of Capital Audio Fest 2022, I was very taken by the 4th place performance of the WestminsterLab Quest preamplifier and REI monoblocks driving the exceptional GT AudioWorks Reference 3 speaker system sourced with the simply stunning, engaging sonics of the LampizatOr Horizon DAC. This year, these WestminsterLab electronics were used to feed the uber overachieving von Schweikert Audio Endeavor Special Edition loudspeakers, sourced yet again by the LampizatOr Horizon DAC. And here again, this system's performance, utilizing the WestminsterLab electronics and the simply superlative LampizatOr Horizon DAC, stood out among its similarly priced competitors and excelled in creating music. Now, there was just a remarkable systemic synergy, and the resultant sonic tapestry generated here was refreshingly engaging and musical. Now, the WestminsterLab Quest is $22,000 as a line stage, or $27,000 when fitted with its optionally installed phono cartridge card. And the Class A monoblock WestminsterLab REI at $28,000 per pair had piqued my interest because, at first appearance, given their slight size of just 12 5/8 inches long by 9 1/8 inches wide by 4 3/8 inches tall, one may, as I did, mistakenly infer that they are of Class D design. And if you pick one up, its scant 35-odd pounds may tend to bolster that assumption. Now, as good as Class D has become, it has never sounded quite like what I have heard from the REIs on the occasions I have had to hear them. And in fact, it was this pronouncement that the REI was a Class A design that really drove me to seek out and chat with Angus. Now, I was fortunate enough to have been invited to a dinner with a group of the usual suspects for a Friday evening meal after AXPONA had closed for the day at Fogo de Chao that included Angus, and I took advantage of the opportunity to sit beside him so we could talk. We had a marvelous conversation that inspired the one you are about to see here. Let's take a look and listen. Hi, everybody. We're here at AXPONA with Angus Leung, and we're talking about WestminsterLabs. We had a chance to talk last night at dinner. Great conversation. Thanks for your time. I really enjoyed it. We've learned that, like most of us, you were a hobbyist, and that got you started. You had a mini disc player, right? You were very into that from what I read.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that history a little bit?
Yeah, I can. I think I was like 12 or 13 when I got my first MD Walkman.
Yeah.
So, for MD, you have to record your music on the
Sure.
MD disc. So I started investigating different methods of recording, analog in, digital in, SPDIF in, toslink, and also experimenting with different earphones back then. I was a kid.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just fascinating for me to know that you can actually experience different kind of music. You have different feelings with different equipments like earphones and things whatnot,
Outstanding.
So it was like a beginning of my journey. And interesting fact that my father's brother actually has a full set of stereo. Back in the days, it was like I remember it was like a Baldwin Wilkins 802, old style.
I remember those, yeah.
The boxy ones, of course.
Yeah,
with a full set of Macintosh amplifiers and CD players and things. And he actually introduced me to this 2-channel, what's the meaning of an audiophile.
Outstanding.
So, so that was the genesis of my journey,
Now, you were in England at the time, at London. You went to university there.
Yeah.
And you are now the founder and designer for WestminsterLabs. What was the genesis there? How did the company come to be after education? How did that all happen?
Well, ever since the inception of the idea of being an audiophile, actually, I started investigating, can I build stuff, Like, actually, ever since I was a kid, like a couple of years ago, I was fascinated by Legos. So I love building things, Also scale models, radio control model cards, and that sort of things. So, and then I got into, every now and then, I was actually in the UK, I was in the boarding school back then.
Okay.
So every now and then I came back to Hong Kong during the summer holiday, and I started, going online and see if anyone can have any idea to teach me how to DIY stuff. And that's out of, just pure luck. And a user on the forum actually asked me if you want to learn this, you can come and we can talk and stuff.
Wow!
And actually, he was an owner of audio repair shop. And what he does is he refurbish, upgrade, and repair many audio equipments like speakers, amplifiers, phonos, and whatnot. And that is the occasion where I get to listen to a lot of these famous gears like Martin FM Acoustics, Goldman, all the Krells, old Krells. So started opening up, investigating, and repairing, upgrading, look at how they do things, schematics, and this is how I get into.
Well, that's a background we share because I had an electronics repair shop for years as well. So
it's just
it changes how you look at something.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
and that becomes a hobby. Every single summer I work there. And I begin to have friends which is interested in this hobby and say, oh, maybe you can make me something, maybe you can make me something. It was, of course, most of them are head-files, like head amps. Small basic stuff. And then we started doing a bit more, and then I get into speaker design, DIY, power amplifiers for our friends, and somehow I get a little bit of money out of this. It's not a business.
No, not yet.
It's just a little bit of money to keep funding, buying new toys, experimenting with different parts,
Fuel your habit.
Exactly, fuel your habit. Exactly. So it was, I think, around university time when I was up north in Newcastle doing architecture. Interestingly, the idea of maybe we can do something a bit more serious and put it online. Mm-hmm. So this is where that was the time when. We produced the first audiophile USB cable.
Well, that's another thing. You were very into cables at that point. Yeah.
Yes, we were the cable was our core.
Yeah. Well, and my one of my early break-ins to this industry, when I had my first print magazine, I did a thing on loudspeaker cables, and we talked about that last night. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. We both agree that cables are components.
Yes.
So that progressed.
Yes, it does. I mean, we do lots of testing of our cables, interestingly with our own equipment.
Sure.
And then when WestminsterLab was born, the brand, when I went back to Hong Kong, we decided to make it a series.
And when was that for our viewers? Can you tell them?
That was 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, around that time.
Because I freely admit, I've only known about you for about two and a half years. So
yeah, we were quite quiet, to be honest. Because
we were doing a lot of R&D stuff, right?
Yes, we were really focusing on R&D.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the days, we were on a cable company, and we spent 5 years designing the first amplifier, the Uno, which has lots of new ideas that we want to test out. The feedback was great. It was very expensive, very difficult to manufacture, of course.
Sure.
And then we kind of bring this kind of technology and make it into the REIs, which we have like 5 years ago, I think, around that time. But
and they should be on camera right below us here in the back.
Yeah, but an amplifier company without preamps is
useless. You're not going to sell a lot of amps.
Exactly.
People want the set. Yeah,
exactly. People just say, "Do you have your preamps? Do you have your preamps? Do you have your preamps?" It's like, wow. Back in the days, we actually believed a lot in digital attenuation.
Okay.
We think digital attenuation is good enough, blah blah blah, because we've never looked into the preamps engineering, that side of the problem, and we listen to a lot of preamps in the market that we don't like, so that's why we think digital attenuation would be the solution. So we started the Quest, our preamp product. It took us 3 years.
Wow.
Completely relook how we should approach this, because a lot of companies actually process the signal pretty much the same. They scale down the power amplifier to become a preamplifier.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And we took a different approach. So the whole architecture of the REIs and also the Quest is completely different. So we took another approach for small signals. We took another approach for big signals. So and we are happy with the results that we came up actually.
Well, yeah. Now, the one thing that was interesting to me is you got into analog a little bit later, vinyl and LP Playback.
Yeah.
Now, the Quest actually has a phono stage, so it's a full preamplifier, not just a line stage.
Yeah.
How long did that take to do? How did that come about?
Oh, that was interesting. It was our U.S. distributor Gary actually mentioned you have to do something.
We know who you are.
Yeah, you have to do something with vinyl, and I said, "No, you sure?" Because I've never heard any 20% of that. I'm happy about.
You got to come by the house sometime, buddy.
Yes, of course. I mean, I don't have much experience back then. I didn't have much experience back then. So, and then we started to get into this world. Just open the door and then just help business over. To be honest, so we were into it. We are now, I think, over a year, just about over a year. We have the MC/MM card.
Okay.
LCXR output.
Sure.
And recently we did a collaboration with DS Audio.
Oh, okay.
So we are the first manufacturer to be certified by DS Audio to produce their equalizers.
They're optical equalizers, yeah.
And,
outstanding.
And yesterday I was talking to Aki-san from DS Audio downstairs.
Okay.
And
I saw Garth yesterday. I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, he was a busy guy.
Yeah.
With the new products.
Yeah.
The Grandmaster EX. Anyway.
Yeah.
And they were planning to do a demonstration of our equalizer in Munich. They think it's
outstanding, man.
Great.
I realize I've found out that is more of a thing now with people who design integrateds and line stages to offer that optical option as well, because the DS stuff's taking off. Now, the most interesting part of the conversation for me last night is I asked you to describe how you do, when you look at this amp, the first assumption, and mistaken even by myself, was that it was a Class D amplifier. I go read about it, it's a hybrid Class A, and you've done something really remarkable. We talked about it last night.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us?
Well, this is what we call is a Class A amplifier.
Sure.
At all time, it's Class A. Of course, we have a little bit of sliding bias, but the sliding is not that much.
Okay.
The tricks of designing a Class A in this, we can put it in such a small form factor, is we set out our parameters of our goals of the amplifier's output very carefully, because we look at for speakers, there are two factors that the speaker needs to produce now, right? One is voltage, one is current.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Very well. Just some basic information for most of the guys.
Sure.
For low impedance speakers, you need current. For high impedance, you need voltage, right?
Right.
So if you look at the market, most of the speakers nowadays is very efficient.
Fairly efficient,
Most of them are 88, 89.
Yeah, there's a time where it was in the low 80s pretty consistently, yeah.
So most of them don't need a lot of voltages. And for the speakers who really has high impedance, like the avant-garde, they're 18 ohms, 22 ohms, but they're very efficient. I mean,
sure. Oh my God, they're
110 dB.
110, yeah, I was
so
going to say 105, 110.
So we say, well, so you don't need voltage, right? You don't need a lot of voltage. So that's our conclusion. And nowadays, because of modern technologies, with coils and drivers technologies, the impedance rarely dip down below 2 ohms.
Speakers are much more stable these days. Their load presentations usually a lot more stable.
And for speakers who really dip below 2 ohms, like the Apogees or the Ribbons, they are resistive load.
Resistive load, not
you don't need to double down. So you don't need a linear current output from the amplifiers. So we think maybe we can do double down from 8 ohms to 2 ohms rather than 1 ohms. So it's that goal actually. For example, the not doubling down to 1 ohms reduces the amount of transistors because we don't need so much current. So we least half the currents. So we need half the transistors. So we actually cut the output heat by half.
Sure.
That's the first point. And because we don't need a lot of voltages because of what we mentioned just now, we cut the rail voltage by around a half.
Wow. Okay.
So we actually cut the heat another a half. So we are getting the same outputs, 8 ohm, 4 ohm, 2 ohm, double down there, with similar outputs at just quarter of the heat compared to an equivalent Class A amplifier, which doubles down to 1 ohm. So this is just pure physics. And for our design, if the customers really have a big space, with big loudspeakers, they want to go loud, they can bridge it externally.
You were saying, yeah.
And then we have double the voltage, and we have quadruple the output. So we have 400 watts Class A at 8 ohm, and 800 watts Class A at 4 ohm. So.
Well, essentially, you're reducing wasted headroom that you don't need.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah.
We just set our parameters carefully.
Sure.
And then we design.
They're more realistic instead of just over-designed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of over-design by doing that, because by reducing the static heat dissipation to just a quarter, we have loads more headroom from the power supply.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So out of the power supply that we have loads more headroom compared to other Class A amplifier on the market.
Well, they sound pretty good. I'm hoping that Gary's going to set me up with some here in the near future. We'll see how that goes. But I want to before we end up today, is there anything I haven't asked you or that we haven't talked about that you want to bring up?
Loads, but I think
we'll do another chat sometime soon.
Yeah,
How's
definitely.
That? Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
Angus, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for watching. Again, we're coming from AXPONA. I hope I see some of you here, and you've said hello to me in the halls, and if not, you missed it. I'm sorry. We had so much fun without you. You should come next time. So, again, Angus, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Greg.
So long, everybody. Thanks. I hope it has become clear why I find Angus to be a committed, engaging, and interesting cat. And I'll be sharing a more detailed examination of the WestminsterLab sound as I get the Quest and the REIs in-house to audition. Stay tuned for that. Now, further, it should come as no surprise that I mentioned the LampizatOr Horizon repeatedly here and in other show reports. Now, many of you will be aware that I have had the Horizon in-house recently and that the review is forthcoming. And guys, given my experiences with the Baltic 3, which I purchased, and now the new Baltic 4, I will share a bit of a spoiler here. In my experience, the Horizon offers simply unrivaled performance as a standalone DAC. And I'll be expanding upon and detailing that performance very soon with both written and video reviews. Now, to that end, along with finding time during AXPONA to sit down with Angus, Łukasz Fikus, the creative force behind LampizatOr, was gracious enough to make time to talk with me about the Horizon. And that conversation will be featured here shortly as well. Yesterday was the first day back to a semi-normal schedule since I left for AXPONA last Thursday morning. And after the show on Monday morning, Leif Swanson, the vice president and chief designer at Von Schweikert Audio, rode back home with me. He was here Monday and Tuesday immediately after AXPONA to do the Critical Mass Systems LS footer upgrades on my Von Schweikert Audio Ultra 9s. Now, of course, I documented the entire process, and Leif and I will discuss that in an upcoming episode. But to say that the change, which required the removal of the Ultra 9's matching skirts and soundcasters, was significant, may be the mother of all understatements. The obvious immediate improvements were noted with the bass and the space, and it continues to reveal improvements daily at this point. So watch for that conversation to be featured here soon. Then, the following day, the Wednesday after AXPONA, Peter Hansen of Audio Group Denmark came by, and we installed and played with the Børresen X3 loudspeakers, along with a box full of assorted Anzus noise cancellation products, including the Darks, Sorts, Sparks, and Mains 8 AC and the A3 Power Ethernet switch all day long. This speaker is stunningly impressive at just $11,000. And I'm going on record as saying that it will be one of those products that in 20 years, people will look back at with wonder. It's an amazing speaker. So watch for this conversation as well. And after seeing and hearing my room and system, Peter has suggested that I review the new $280,000 Børresen M3s introduced just last week at Schaumburg. As always, thanks for taking the time to drop by. Further information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.